This is TJ with Tech Made Easy. Welcome to the channel. My channel is all about making things affordable, practical, and easy. And today we're going to be talking about a server that's under $280. It's 24 terabytes of hard drive space, 32 gigs of RAM, 8 cores, 16 threads. We're also going to be talking about options on this to make it into a 10 gig networking server as well. So let's go ahead, jump on the desktop, and let's get started. Let's go over all the pricing on this. And by the way, we're not building this server from the ground up. We're just taking a PC and modifying it a little bit to make it your DIY budget server. Okay, let's talk about S&S on a budget. Let's dive right into it. Let's get going. So what we're going to do here, I have basically some price points here between $230 to $300. We're using one PC, but that PC used can vary, and so we're going to go over those varying options that can cause this price to be lower and a little bit higher. So let's just go ahead. This is the PC we're going to use. We're going to use the HP Z420. There's lots of reasons why I like this for a home server. It's very versatile. Now, there are lots of people that use PCs, and they use all kinds of different types of PCs, and some like Dell, some do Epiplexes. But this one here, the reason why I use this one is because it's a Xeon system. You have lots of options. You have powerful processors, less powerful processors, depending on what you're doing. Maybe you want to run Plex and some other stuff, some other VMs, some other applications with this server. There's just lots of options. Plus, on top of that, it holds 6 hard drives. Let's look over here to the left here, and in this right here, you get 3 hard drives here, and you get 3 hard drives up above that. Okay, and so when you buy one of these, you'll notice there's a hard drive rack right here, or adapter to put there. This one only has one. So a lot of times you can ask whoever you're buying it from, send them a message first and see if they have the extra racks, or if they have all 3 of them. It's very helpful to have those for your hard drives to slide right into there. But the other thing is too about this PC is that it actually has 10 SATA ports on it for 10 hard drives. Now, you can't put 10 hard drives in here. There's a reason why it has 10, but you have 6 that you can use for hard drives. And so and it can hold, like, you can have 256 gigs of RAM. I don't know why you'd want to do that on a server, but you can. And so this plus 2, I'm going to talk about options on upgrading. We're going to start with a basic file server, but options where you can upgrade later on. Or if you want to start off with those upgrades, you can do that. So this PC is a very versatile. It's a USB 3.0 and 2.0. So let's just go ahead and let's go into where we're getting our pricing for this server. And again, because we're buying a PC, we're not having to build this from scratch. We may have to modify it. We may find one that we can just use. Now, the one that I'm doing with this system today, though, there is an HP out there for $90. And let me explain too, these HP Z420s come in 2 versions. They come in a version 1 and version 2. What the difference is the version 2s take the E5 2600 and E5 1600 V2 V1 CPUs. The version 1 only takes version 1 of those CPUs. I always try to find a version 2 if I want to, because then it gives me some flexibility. Now, my backup server is not a version 2, it's a version 1, but it works great. And a version 1 will work great in here. This one just happens to be a version 2, and it already has 16 gigs of RAM on it, ECC RAM. And the other thing that I did forget to mention on this, the other reason why I like this is this was built to be a workstation server, okay, which gives it ahead of some of your basic PCs that are older. But anyway, the CPU that comes with it is an E5 1620 V2. It has 4 cores, 8 threads, plenty enough for a server. It comes with a GPU. The only thing it doesn't come with is a hard drive or an SSD. So we're going to throw in a 256 gig SSD for the OS system for $15. And yes, that's right, SSDs have come down so much in price. So for the system itself, by the time we buy the SSD, it's $106. And then the hard drives are going to be $160. And what we're going to do is we're going to buy 4 6 terabyte of these HGST server hard drives. That gives us 24 terabytes. Now, I always, in all my videos, when I talk about the hard drives, I always buy my hard drives used. In fact, I buy most of my stuff used. There's some things that I don't buy used, like the SSDs and some other things. But as far as for these type of things, a lot of things I buy used. Now, these hard drives, HGST is a server hard drive manufacturer. They make hard drives for HP, for all kinds of different, they make them for Western Digital. Anyway, they are the large server hard drive manufacturer. Now, the reason why I buy these is because they are server hard drives. And what happens is a lot of companies, they only run their hard drives for so many hours or so many years, and then they recycle them, and so you get them through these recyclers. I have not had one of these hard drives go out yet. Now, that doesn't mean they can't. The hard drives that I have had to go out on me are the desktop hard drives that when I first started my first server, I made the mistake of putting desktop hard drives in there. And eventually I found these HGST server hard drives, so that's what we put in here. So anyway, the total of this price comes up to $160 for those. So the total is $265. Now, let's just talk about what happens if you can't find an HP that just happens to have everything in it where you can throw a hard drive in. It just so happens that the one that I'm going to be showing here on eBay, it's already ready. You just throw a hard drive, SSD in it, and your hard drives are ready to go. But you don't always find those ones that are ready to go like that have enough RAM or that have a processor that is what I consider good enough for a server. So in a lot of times these HPs become bare bone. Okay, and so like right now, at the time I'm making this video, there's a bare bone version 2 that's for $90, not $100. I just put $100 here at the top, just because that is a good starting point. That's an average, but you can get them for less than that. You can get them for $80. So it's just an average. So we're saying we're going to get this $100. But like I said, there's one out there that's $9. So this system would be $10 cheaper, $90. So then we're going to put 32 gigs of RAM on here. Now, you don't need 32 gigs of RAM for a server, but if you're going to put TrueNAS on this, you want a gig of RAM for each terabyte of hard drive space that you have. So 32 gigabyte is plenty, and it's so cheap. Why not? It'll make your server run more efficient. So there's $13 for 32 gigs of RAM. And then we're going to throw in an 8-core 16-thread CPU, very good CPU, for $6. You can't even beat that. Then some of these don't come with the GPU, so if it doesn't come, that's an extra $10 that you can buy on eBay. And then of course our SSD here, $16 that we get from Amazon. And so the total price of this system was $145, or like I said, there's one for $90 on there right now, so it could be $135. Again, the hard drives are $160, and so then this total system is going to be between $295 and $305, depending on if you find one for $90. But now, if you aren't familiar with how to put a CPU in a machine, the RAM in the machine, so on and so forth, the SSD, maybe you've never done that before, I'm going to have below, I made a server guide basically about 2 years ago, and it'll show you all the options how to put all these extra parts in your computer, like the CPU, the RAM, GPU, and so on and so forth. Okay, let's talk about options for a minute. First of all, because this is a DIY server, home server, the operating system you put on there, that is going to be up to you, because there's RAID, or excuse me, there's Unraid, there's TrueNAS, there's Windows, there's just Linux itself, there's other Linux type ones that you can put on there. But the other options I'm going to talk about, and I've ran this same server with Windows before, using storage spaces to do the RAID, TrueNAS, and Linux as well. But let's just talk about the options that I want to talk about here are, again, I talked about how this particular system has a lot of expandability. So let's go ahead and talk about some of these options. So hard drives is one, because right now the way this one is just giving you 24 terabytes, but obviously you can do more than that. There are CPUs are another option, memory's another option, 10 gig networking, 10 gig switch, hard drive enclosures. What I mean by that, if you look at the picture here up here, you see that's a 5-bay hard drive enclosure. So let's just go ahead, and I didn't include any 4 terabyte hard drives on here, but you can get those for about $25. And this price on the side is just if you're buying 4. Obviously, if you're going to buy more than that, this price will go up. But this is just the price of each hard drive. So 24 terabytes, 40, 32, or excuse me, not 24, but the 6 terabyte drives are $40 each. 8 terabytes are $60. 10 terabytes are $75. If you wanted to put 10 terabytes in your hard drive, you know, that obviously that'd be $300. And then 64 gigs of RAM, again, because we're on the X79 motherboard system, and the RAM, DDR3 RAM is really cheap. So 64 gigs of server RAM, you're talking $25 if you want to upgrade that RAM. And you only really need to do that, say if you're going to do 40 terabytes more and you're going to run something like TrueNAS, it helps. And then the 5-bay enclosure that I showed there is $90. The 4-bay is $65. And then I'm going to just really quick, I want to go in, let's just talk about the 10 gigabits option. And this is if you're going to try to do 10 gigabit networking with it. That does increase the price a little bit. So I put a HP Z420 up here, 32 gigs of RAM. It's 135. So you could, what you need to do with, if you're gonna go full 10 gig, then you have to buy other hard drives other than SATA hard drives. You really need SAS hard drives. And so when you go with a SAS hard drive, you need so that they fit correctly in this box, you need a right angle SATA to SAS adapter. Those adapters are $8 each, so that'd be $32 if you're doing 4, and obviously more if you're doing more than 4. Then what you need is a controller card that will give you 12 gigabit throughput, and this is an 8-port LSI 12 gigabit throughput controller card. Then obviously here's some hard drives down here. So if you're talking a 6 terabyte SAS hard drive is $40, an 8 terabyte SAS hard drive is $54, and a 10 terabyte hard drive is $80. And I think that might be a little different. We'll go through some of those. $80 to $90. And why SAS? Because these SAS, when you go and look at these SAS hard drives, you got to make sure that these are 12 gigabit pass-through, and that makes it so you can get your 10 gigabit. And also too, with this controller card, it's a 12 gigabit controller card, not a 6 gigabit. And so that's what you need to look for when you go in to buy these hard drives. And then of course your 10 gigabit NIC, and it's $50 to $35 really. So you know, your total 10 gigabit option will depend on what you want to do. So let's just take a look at what's on eBay right now. So this is that $90 one, this HP 420. It's got a Xeon E5 1620B2, 16 gigs of RAM, and this E5 1620B2 has plenty of power to run a server or NAS. Obviously there's other options that you can go there, but if you bought this computer today, all you'd have to do is throw the hard drives in, buy the SSD, and throw whatever operating system you're going to use for doing your home server. But the other option is, and this computer right now, and again this is just at the time that I'm doing this, this is an HP Z420, and see how they said V2 on here, V2 motherboard. Now this one's bare bones. There's no CPU, no anything. And so that's why I went over the options of buying one like this and buying a CPU and RAM and stuff like that, because this comes bare bones. And most of the time when I buy them, they come bare bones for me, because I like to put in my own CPU. I'll usually put in 32 gigs of RAM or more on a server, mostly because I run TrueNAS, and TrueNAS just likes more RAM. Not that you have to have that RAM, but it just is more efficient when you do. So let's just go here. So this is the SSD. Now you may not have heard of this brand before, but I actually, the one on the right here, I use this on my TrueNAS server because I plug it into the OS2, or not to the OS2, to the USB port. So I'm not taking up any SATA ports inside my system. But you have this other one here, this Jolt SSD for $16. You cannot beat that. And I have never had any problems with these. If you don't feel comfortable with that, you can get another brand, but that's an option there. And even though like this one here, it's $24, it's only 120 gigs, but again, I use that with my TrueNAS, and TrueNAS, you don't really need that much hard drive space. Now, I do have a Linux server, and I do have a bigger SSD in that one because I'm installing apps on that, and that's why if you were going to install apps, you'd probably want to get something like this with your server, the SSD there. So let's just go ahead. Now this is another option. There's a thumb drive that you can use for this if you want, the Samsung. If you do use a thumb drive for a server, you really got to get a high quality thumb drive because they wear out faster, and the Samsung is a nice high quality one. For instance, Unraid, you have to buy Unraid, and it ships with, where it comes with a high quality thumb drive. I personally wouldn't recommend a thumb drive though to run my operating system off of. Okay, so the hard drive here, this is that 6 terabyte. It's $40 on eBay. It's free shipping. Here's an 8 terabyte one, $58, and then here's a 10 terabyte one, $75. It includes shipping, and so I'm just showing you real quick that these prices are real. Here's one that's this is 32 gigs of RAM, and it's for $13. And again, these are all available at the time I'm making this, but it may not be available. But again, these prices, you should be able to find all these things, the hard drives and the memory and everything that I'm showing you for similar pricing. It just may be a different vendor that's selling them. And I usually like to buy from recyclers. I don't like to buy from individuals as much. When it comes to video cards, sometimes you have to do that, but these type of things, a lot of recyclers are selling these. And then here's 64 gigs of RAM for $24 or $25. Awesome. Now this is the CPU that that I would recommend that you put in for your server. This is the E5 2670. It's 8 cores, 16 threads, $6. You can't beat that, and it's great. You can run Plex with this and some other apps and so on and so forth. Whatever you wanted to do there, it's gonna run your server great. Here's the V2 version of it. It's 10 cores, 20 threads, and it's $9. Again, that can only run in the V2, and when you go to search on eBay for the HP Z420, if it doesn't have a V2 Xeon chip in it, or it doesn't say V2 anywhere on there, that means it's a V1. And so just be aware that if you want some flexibility to run V2 chips, that you'll want to look for one that's V2. V2 sometimes is more expensive, but right now they're starting to come down in price, more around this $90 range for V2s. Okay, so video card. Here's just a generic video card on eBay for $10. If it needs one, not saying it will, but if it needs one, there it is. Now this is what I was talking about. This is a 5-bay enclosure. This is available on Newegg. You'll have to type in Athenia, and it has to be this brand. You can't just throw any enclosure in there, whether it's 4 bay or 5 bay, because some of the enclosures you get, they're too long and they'll hit the power supply in the case. This one's shorter and it fits. I have this on 2 of my HP Z420 servers. So just be aware of that. And if you want a 4 bay one, this one's $90. The 4 bay one is, I think, is $65. So here we have, and then here is the controller I was talking about. If you want to set up a 10 gigabit system, so this is your 8-port 12 gig controller. It's an LSI. It's super micro, but it's really LSI right here, and that's that controller there. This is a network card. Again, and you can find these from $35 to $50. And if you, as long as you type in this X540T, then that'll make sure that you're getting an RJ45 networking card, because you don't want the SFP networking cards. They are cheaper, but again, we're looking at RJ45 here. And then this is that adapter, the SATA to SAS adapter I was talking about. And this is, again, this is a SAS drive with the 12 gigabit throughput, $40. This is another SAS 8 terabyte one, 12 gigabit throughput for $54. And here's another one that's $59. So those hard drive prices can vary, but this is another 8 terabyte. And this is a 10 terabyte one, $75. Everything that I'm showing you here, with the exception of this one, whoops, I meant to replace that. I meant to replace this. These 10 gigabit hard drives are more around $90, $80 to $90, including shipping. This one doesn't include shipping. It's actually $12.45 for shipping plus $75. So. And then if you want to do a 10 gigabit networking, again, these are just options. You used to be able to buy this for $269 on eBay. I can't find it on eBay for $269 anymore, but you can get it from this place for $269. But they do charge shipping and handling, and I don't know how much they charge. But if you're having a hard time finding one like this, all these ports are 10 gigabit. You can go on Newegg, and they sell it for $299. And then they do have this 8-port one for $399 on eBay. But anyway, those are just your options. Again, this is NAS on a budget. I wanted to give you other options if you want to do see how you can upgrade that in the future, or maybe just spend a little bit more money and upgrade it and go beyond this particular system. But the way it is set now, this is a great system for 24 terabytes. You can't beat 265 if you're just looking to have a home server where you can store your videos, maybe your files, run Plex on it. It's great. This will work out great for you. Anyway, this is TJ with Tech Made Easy. I hope that was helpful, and have a great day. Thanks.
Now that was easy